What's a fact you wish you didn't know? Before we go to the first story, please hit a subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Number 10. When the Space Shuttle Challenger blew up, the 7 crew members survived the explosion, experienced free fall up over the top of the Ark, and were several minutes later when they crashed into the ocean, knowing the whole time they were about to die. Then, because NASA and the county coroner had a dispute over who would perform the autopsies, their bodies were put in the back of a pickup under a tarp and raced back to Kennedy Space Center. As several people have pointed out, the crew compartment lost pressure, so though at least some of them had their emergency oxygen turned on, it seems likely that at least some lost consciousness quickly, and that all of them did by the time of the crash. So even though they likely all lived until the crash, it's wrong to say, as I did above, that they knew the whole time they would die. Number 9. Most of what I learned earning dual history and political science degrees. We are absolutely awful every chance we get, and we usually learn everything the hard way twice. Those who do not study history are doomed to repeat it. Those who do study history are doomed to watch everybody else repeat it. Number 8. There's a farmer's maxim that says something like, feed the horses before you let the chickens out, because both horses and cows are known to eat baby chicks if they're hungry enough. There are a lot of animals that we assume are herbivores, but can be omnivores. I saw a squirrel the other day carrying a mouse in its mouth. Number 7. When a crematory starts, the largest bodies are processed for cycle 1 first, then turned to be finished. The remaining bone structure is placed in a blender and pulverized. As not all that he has left the bricks, smaller, less fatty bodies are second, third, etc. I have 19 for tomorrow. It's going to be a long day. I have a family member who works in the creme. I visited once and got like a factory tour during business hours. Fascinating, including the basket full of hip and ankle replacement bits. Learned all about the pulverizing step, and most shocking was the tiny version of the pulverizing equipment you need for the little ones and infants. I've only ever experienced Japanese crematoriums. The family is present when the body, in a thin wooden casket, is put into the incinerator. The family then goes to a private waiting area. They usually have tea and beer and little snacks, and the family members can chat with relatives they haven't seen for a long time, or some people just sit quietly. After an hour or 90 minutes, the family is called back to the incinerator. It's opened, and the ashes are revealed. The worker in charge of that body goes through the ashes with a long pair of chopsticks, picking up pieces and explaining what they are. This was her forehead. This was a metal brace from an operation. The family then lines up, and pairs of people use chopsticks to pick up a piece of bone and put it into the urn. This is why it's rooted to pass food from one pair of chopsticks to another in Japan. It's too similar to this ritual. After everyone has put a piece of bone in the urn, the staff puts all the remaining bones and ashes into the urn. If the person wore glasses or had a favorite piece of jewelry, the family member can put that in the urn as well. Then everyone goes home. It's a very surreal experience, as it's made almost clinical by the staff, so it's actually much easier to get through. Number 6. Researchers on Marion Island, claimed by South Africa, accidentally let out 5 cats and didn't go searching for them, thinking they would become feral and starve to death. What actually happened was them overpopulating the island to the point of thousands. This threatened the seabird population, and as a result the South African government spent millions of dollars and over 20 years systematically killing them all with rifles, bear traps, and even feline parvovirus. 3,172 dead cats later, the rat population they had also mistakenly let loose now has less predators and continues to threaten the seabird's eggs today. Number 5. I'm a cybersecurity expert. There are a lot of facts I wish I didn't know about how vulnerable we are to a massive existential cyber attack. Edit. I am getting lots of requests for examples. One is accessing municipal water treatment plants and altering chemical treatment to poison water. Another is shutting down hospital networks, which would cripple all operations and couple it with a terrorist attack. Another is to access power grids and shut down power delivery capabilities for an extended time. Another is accessing navigation systems, GPS, of aircraft and spoofing signals. Another is hacking military aircraft and drones, coupled with GPS spoofing. All of these and many more have been proven possible by ethical hackers. Every ethical hacker I know is well armed and has taken steps to help ensure survival if things go off-grid. Even then, it's unknown how bad a digital pandemic could be. Number 4. That my grandfather, 53 years ago, was able to buy a brand new car outright with cash solely using his Christmas bonus. Not his wages, no saving up, just a bonus. He wasn't some executive either, he wasn't even a manager. He was a floor worker in a plastic factory in the middle of nowhere in Wisconsin. We will never see that level of prosperity again. Reply. My grandfather bought a house in the late 60s in cash for £700. He worked making glass bottles, and he and my grandmother raised 4 kids comfortably off just his wage. And older people have the nerve to claim everything costs the same, rather stupidly ignorant or really dumb. Number 3. I wish I didn't know about stage 4 pressure wounds, especially on the coccyx. Negative pressure wounds, necrotizing fasciitis, just from getting old, not being able to move as much as once could, and fragile skin. It's what ends up killing a lot of older people because they just never heal, and infection takes over one day. The very first patient I took care of in nursing school had 27-stage IV unstageable decubitus ulcers. They were everywhere. She couldn't speak or move. Her family kept her alive for her SS checks. It was sick. Number 2. Insurances won't pay for some procedures unless you are guaranteed to die without it. So if there is a chance you will be crippled or otherwise badly injured but alive, they will reject it. Had a patient told he couldn't get a heart procedure unless he collapsed. He never collapsed but had a bad heart. Insurance company said since he didn't collapse, his heart wasn't that bad. His lawyer Granson said if he collapsed, he will sue them. Within 2 hours, they approved the procedure. Number 1. That Mary Jo Kopech did not drown. She suffocated. She survived for what is believed to be 4 hours after Ted Kennedy wrecked the car into the water and escaped. He then traveled back to the party they just left, bringing friends back to stand by the crash site for a while. The thought is that Ted was trying to persuade one of the friends to take the fall for him before one of them drove him to the location of the ferry. Ted swam back and fell asleep, hoping to claim he couldn't have been in the car because he'd already gone back on the ferry, which was not running by the time they crashed. All he had to do was get help. He didn't need to rescue her himself. She survived for long enough that a call even 2 hours after the crash would have resulted in saving her life. Alright folks, that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us today. If you like more of this, please hit a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And if you have a similar story, please let us know in the comment below. I'll see you in the next video.